Fight Night August 10th, 2024. A mixed bag of fighters looking to make a name in the UFC, building up to a heavyweight rematch between number 8 Marcin Tybura and number 9 Serghei Spivac. Let's get into it.
You're listening to Submission Script.
Before we begin, find a heavyweight and drop them onto the subscribe button to get the latest predictions for UFC, PFL, and One Championship fights. This week's Fight Night will be at the UFC Apex Center in Las Vegas. Prelims start at 4 p.m. Central and the main card starts at 6 on ESPN and ESPN+. We'll be covering the following fights: Toshiomi Kazama versus Charalampos Grigoriou, Yana Santos versus Chandler, Gutierrez versus Quang, Danny Barlow versus Nikolay Veretennikov, Damon Jackson versus Chepe Mariscal, and Marcin Tybura versus Serghei Spivac. Opening the main card, we get 10-4-0 Toshiomi Kazama taking on 8-4-0 Charalampos Grigoriou in the 135-pound bantamweight division. Kazama held a 9-win streak running through the Asian fight promotion pancrase with a number of first-round finishes with a mix of TKO and submission wins. This will be his third UFC fight, taking a loss on his first 2. Toshiomi has decent skills for a low-grade UFC fighter, but lacks the aggression to be a true contender. Grigoriou hails from the CFFC, driving hard crosses and full-power calf kicks that can drop a man to the earth. Grigoriou has a stout ground game as well, with brutal ground and pound. The odds have Kazama at plus 210 and Grigoriou at minus 260. Grigoriou is your early ATM cash machine this evening. In the women's bantamweight division, 14-8-0 Yana Santos will defend the number 12 position from number 14, 6-2-0 Chandler. Santos is light on her feet, preferring to keep range with leg kicks and jabs. Chandler, on the other hand, plods forward, applying pressure, power hitter who looks for a KO with each punch. Her ground game is arguably stronger than Santos, but her glaring weakness is her refusal to guard her head. She keeps her hands low as she tromps towards her opponent and keeps her head on the center line. Santos will have no problem sticking Chandler in the grill if Chandler doesn't improve her defense. Santos is at minus 142, Chandler is at plus 120. We call this one for Santos for Chandler's slower movement and inability to protect her face. Next, we have a last-minute bantamweight change-up and UFC debut as 25-2 Gutierrez welcomes newcomer 8-0 Quang to the octagon. The bookies had the veteran at minus 650 and the newcomer at plus 425. Gutierrez is more of a defensive striker, balancing his wins basically 50-50 between decision and TKO. Quang was scheduled for Dana White's Contender Series when Gutierrez's Fight Night opponent pulled out last minute. Quang accepted the upgrade to UFC with 10 days' notice. Quang made a mad dash through LFA with multiple first-round finishes through average fighters. The question is whether he can put a dent in a UFC fighter who went 5 rounds with Song Yadong and Pedro Munoz and knocked out Frankie Edgar. For prediction accuracy, we'll pick Gutierrez for his experience and defense. However, for a high payout bet, find the $50 you were saving for that new lawnmower and drop it on Lee. Our next fight should be a moneymaker as well, as we see undefeated 8-0 Danny left-handed god Barlow matched up against 12-4-0 Nikolay Veretennikov. Barlow is a defensive kickboxer with a heavy left hand. He keeps his matchups at range with frequent leg strikes and a 79-inch reach jab. He's fairly accurate, but not elite level accurate, but boasts an 8.8 significant strike landed per minute because all of his strikes are intended to be significant. He slips and parries well, but he keeps a low guard, keeping his face open for anyone fast enough to tag it. On the other side of the octagon, Veretennikov is more versatile in his offense, utilizing knee strikes, elbows, takedowns, and mixed combos. He has a decent ground game and can take a punch while still maintaining pressure. Nikolay is significantly slower than Barlow, but may be tough enough and creative enough to put Barlow in the loss category. Odds makers have Barlow at minus 400 and Veretennikov at plus 300. Veretennikov will give Barlow, who is relatively untested, one of his first true challenges. For this reason and for the money, we'll bet on Veretennikov to take any kind of win. If the fight night gets slow in the first 4 fights, don't worry, the co-main will be quick. 23-6-1, Damon Jackson will get dropped in the first round by 16-6-0 street brawler Chepe Mariscal. If you haven't seen this kid fight, open a new tab on your browser and watch his fights with Peek and Garcia. While Damon Jackson hides awkwardly behind his shoulders, tossing out light kicks and touch jabs, Mariscal fights like you beat up his sister and he's got to knock you out before the cops show up. The bookies have Jackson at plus 190 and Mariscal at minus 235. It's not a lot of cash, but if you get an option for round and method, you can rack up some dough by calling first round TKO. Before we head to the main event, help us get to 1,000 subs so we can actually afford to go to a pay-per-view. We promise we'll upload the tailgate party to the channel. In the main event, number 8, 25-8-0 Marcin Tybura offers a redemption fight to number 9, 16-4-0 Serghei Spivac. Both men fight hard and fast, are deadly accurate, can combo up strikes, and hold multiple submissions in their win records. And with both fighters flirting with the 265-pound weight limit, they're sure to rock the UFC Apex Center Saturday night. Serghei Spivac lost the last time they met up, but Spivac has gotten bigger since their last fight. And while both have had similar challengers recently, including losses to Tom Aspinall, Spivac's recent wins have been finishes, while Tybura's wins often come to decision. Spivac looks to put out his opponents, while Marcin looks to add wins. The boxing and grappling will likely go 5 rounds, but we'll give it to Spivac by win of any type for the aggression and desire to clear the Tybura stain off his record. Catch the recap this weekend, and remember to train hard, fight hard, and never tap.